So I've talked in some of my other videos about the philosophical position known as Cosmopsychism. This is the theory the entire universe is conscious. But should we take such a seemingly wacky idea seriously? So if you're new to the Imaginarium, welcome. I'm Eric Goodwin, psychiatrist with 20 years of experience, a published Jungian scholar, and also fantasy author. The link to my debut dark fantasy, King of the Forgotten Darkness, first in the Raven Tale series, is in my profile. So Cosmopsychism is one position among many in the philosophy of mind, which deals with the mind-body problem. How does matter interact with mind? Are they separate things? Are they really just one thing? How does one affect the other? Now, this is a very complex topic, so I can only touch on the surface here, but the core idea is that there's basically four main solutions to this. Physicalism is a popular one. The idea that the mind and the experience are entirely dependent on matter. Despite how popular this one is, it runs into what's called the explanatory gap problem, which is that there's no clear way to make sense of how, say, buzzing pain neurons cause the subjective experience of pain instead of some other kind of sensation. And no matter how much neuroscience we do, it'll only produce more correlations between them without really understanding the causal connection. There's been many attempts to get around this, such as dualism, which is one of the other ones, idealism, which is to say there really is only mind and matter doesn't really exist. One example to try to get around this explanatory gap problem is eliminativism, which proposes that consciousness is actually an illusion and doesn't really exist, which seems pretty odd to me. But one proposed solution to this is to argue that mind or psyche is simply fundamental to the matter, like mass or charge. It's just in everything. This is known as panpsychism, and there's two varieties. Micropsychism argues that every tiny particle has its own micropsyche, but this gives us the problem of why billions of micropsyches just jam together to make macropsyches, like you or me. No easy solution there. Or the other variety of panpsychism is cosmopsychism, which argues that we are conscious because we're a tiny stream in the cosmic consciousness. For reasons that are quite complicated and too much so to get into here, I prefer cosmopsychism. Now you might ask, why should anyone prefer this to the others? Well, for the full answer to the question, you'll need to look at my paper, Bodies and Minds, Heaps and Syllables. This was in the journal Synthese. I published it back in 2021. But barring that, I'd say want to check into the works of David Bohm, Erwin Schrödinger, Philip Goff, Bernard d'Espinat, Ete Shani, Joachim Kepler, and some of David Chalmers' later work. There's a lot written about this stuff. And cosmopsychism has become a major alternative to physicalism in the recent years. Of course, cosmopsychism is not really new. It's an element of many ancient wisdom traditions around the world for millennia. And if you like this, please like, share, follow. Let's see how big we can make this content explode. Keep dreaming, Imaginarians.